Hey, what is going on everybody, and welcome to Fantasia. For today, we're going to be jumping into another session of Epic 7. Now today, got some more balance adjustment previews for you guys. Now this time around, we got ourselves a treat with the last one not being so hot. I was telling people that not every balance patch needs to be a banger, but oh boy was this one a banger. So here's what we got in store for us today. A lot of new heroes being updated here. 8 of them, I believe, and they're all pretty relevant. So first of all, we have martial artist Ken, ML Ken. Again, another tweak to his kit. ML Kron finally getting buffed, especially with the advent of ML Shu making her way into the game, which, by the way, I haven't summoned for yet, but if you want to see that, be sure to subscribe for that in the coming days. But yeah, with ML Kron just kind of never really being used, I've lost him a couple times, but yeah, he was so niche that you basically never saw him. We'll see about that. Bihu getting a buff here, which is very nice because he's actually one of my secret pocket picks that I've been using throughout the season, and he's been serving me very well. Elagos, I feel like he kind of needed something. He's not a unit that really stood out in the meta at all, although I think some people here or there would use him. But yeah, we'll take a look at that too. Moon Bunny, which is one that I'm really surprised by because I feel like she just needs a little bit something to be good, but I didn't know what. I kind of ungeared her in the last couple months because I just never used her, right, outside of Guild Wars. ML Rin! Rin is one of my favorite units, so lucky that she is actually getting buffed too, so we'll see about that. Inferno Kawazu! Super popular right now in the meta as an ML Landy counter. And last but not least, we got Pylus, right? Specially changed Pylus getting buffed as well. So this is not just a balance patch update, this is Smallgate going, heard you don't like ML Landy. Well, we got some ML Landy counters here for you guys. Let's start off with my favorite from this balance patch, ML Ken. That's right, coming in hot here. He's going to be losing his 75% chance to decrease attack for a turn, and he is going to get a 100% chance to provoke, which is insane. The only other units that have a 100% chance to provoke are Knights, essentially, on like a hit, right, with their S1s. And Knights like Crimson Arm and FCC, Crow with his EE can do that, but ML Ken with his S1 is able to just provoke 100% of the time, which is crazy. Now, of course, ML Ken's probably not going to be built with effectiveness, but you're not trying to provoke the support units. You want those DPSs so that they can crit you, right? And you get a new soul burn too. 10 souls, you can increase the damage dealt with his S1, and a successful attack always results in a crit, which is pretty nice. The skill enhancement here is actually kind of tweaked a little bit because it used to affect his S2, like his counter attack, basically. Now his passive got tweaked, right? So his passive now, instead of doing all this gimmicky effect resist stuff that people have been using, and honestly, I've been seeing some pretty strong ML Kens out there with lifesteal and effect resistance, and he's just been doing work. However, this makes him so much easier to build. At the start of the battle, he gets Vigor for 3 turns, which is huge. Vigor increases attack and defense by 30%. That is a lot of stats for free on this unit. Absolutely insane, especially because defense is much needed on him. He also loses the 30% chance to counterattack when he's attacked. However, he gets that replaced when with an Elbrus, essentially. An Elbrus that doesn't have a percent chance to proc. It's just whenever an ally, except for him, gets crit, he will counterattack. And that's on top of him still retaining that if he gets crit, he will also counterattack. That is absolutely insane. Given the fact that when, you know, he counters here, it's not going to be a counterattack with his like kicking skill, it'll be a counterattack with his S1, but guess what his S1 has? That's right, a 100% chance to provoke. So if you hit anybody that's not ML Ken, you provoke them, or sorry, you crit them, he's going to counterattack you, deal some damage. Now, not guaranteed to be crit if you don't build crit chance on him, which most people don't. Not guaranteed to be a crit, however, you're going to get provoked, and then the next turn you're going to die, because MLKen's going to kill you. Especially now, because now he gets a 40% defense penetration for no reason. other than that you're just going to die to MO Ken, which is not bad. Not the worst way to go. Yeah, but he does lose the increased combat readiness by 25% when his S3 is available, but that really honestly like doesn't matter. I know some people kind of got used to that, the people who do use MO Ken, but this is just straight up better. You can get the effect resist by just running something like a Maid Chloe with Shamadra Staff. You know, you can just kind of up your effect resistance in many different ways. Christie is also a really great way to help out in that regard. But yeah, ML Ken, absolutely insane, but that's not even it, because his damage on his S3 also got they got rid of the Soul Burn, and they gave him a much better one, actually, that can be used every turn. This can only be used when his S3 is used, and yeah, you just get straight up damage dealt upgrade. So ML Ken's looking to be one of those, oh, you picked ML Landy. That's a very nice ML Landy you got there. It would be a shame if she got her face kicked in. I can't wait. I'm so hyped for this ML Ken. Not really sure how people are going to be building him. Probably still need a bit of effect resistance because he's still vulnerable to control, right? If he's stunned or slept, you can't counterattack, so you still want some effect res on him. But you know, you're not building crit chance, you're not building speed, so it should be pretty easy to build up. Probably sticking with Lifesteal for most people, I would say, and Sigurd's Scythe still probably one of the best artifacts just to keep him alive. Right, so moving on here, we got MO Kayron. So this is actually huge here because many people's complaints were that he just was too slow. It's too slow to ramp up, and so they kind of fixed that. He also had this little interaction with units that get a one-turn buff. Let's say Alencia gets Mind's Eye, but Mind's Eye only lasts one turn. She gets at the start, and it disappears at the end. Well, when it disappears at the end, Kayron doesn't count it. Because the buff has to be on the unit when their turn ends. So at the end of an enemy's turn, when the target has a buff is no longer there, and now it's just at the end of every enemy's turn. He'll gain 10 Fighting Spirit, and when his Fighting Spirit is full, he still gets the 50% combat readiness increase, but he doesn't consume the Fighting Spirit here. That's really important. We'll get to that later. And instead of getting Enraged, right? Rage was a weird buff to have on him, very gimmicky. But here, combat readiness is just limited to once every 3 turns. Now you see why they removed Rage down here. So we're gonna look at the awakened version of his S3. So instead of inflicting 2,000 fixed damage, and when he's enraged, does 10,000 damage, right? They essentially got rid of all of that. And they say so when he uses his S3, he consumes all Fighting Spirit. Okay, and a successful attack will give the 2,000 damage, and then you get more fixed damage proportional to amount of consumed Fighting Spirit. So you don't have to wait for maximum Fighting Spirit. We still have to wait for the numbers. They're not specifying the damage calculations here. But if we see the numbers that come out, if you're good at like 50 or 60 Fighting Spirit, after like 5 or 6 turns, after your opponent just has 1 turn cycle rotation from all their units, or units that take extra turns, right? Kayron's going to benefit from those units a lot. You can just probably rip an S3 and just kill a bunch of squishies. Like, this unit is going to be insane. Now, I don't want to hype him up too much because we don't know the exact number values here, but I can only assume that it's going to be probably better than 10,000 if you wait for it to go to max. Right? Or maybe it's up to 10,000. Again, who knows? It's all speculation right now, but this kit right here on the right side, honestly, if he was released with something like this, he would have been really sick, and I probably would have pulled for him. But as of right now, yeah, he's looking really, really nice. Okay, next up we got Bihu. Bihu, again, one of my secret techs from this season, and they basically got rid of his RNG, so he was kind of iffy to use sometimes. Running him alongside units like Carrot that can force a detonation is pretty cool, but Bihu, you have the Soul Burn to get that Incinerate chance. Incinerate is his skill for detonating, right? And then they got rid of it. It's really nice because honestly, that's one of the main things holding him back, is that he can't really reliably do damage, even though that's his only skill that he has after he pops his S3. So it's nice to see it gets consistency. When it's used on his turn, he'll always activate his incinerate and detonate the burns, which is beautiful. Now, the main thing here is that his soul burn actually got moved to his S3, and he gets this decreased cooldown, which is sick. So he can not only just keep turn cycling himself, but he can keep stripping buffs, keep putting that unbuffable on the opponent, especially if you have a fast Bihu who's going to be turn cycling. This guy is going to be absolutely insane. They didn't even tweak his like cooldowns on his S3 or anything. You can be using his S3 rapidly, and any turn you're not using your S3, you can just go ahead and use your S1. This soul burn, by the way, is only 10 souls, not 20, so you can decrease your skill cooldowns for very, very cheap and just keep using him for utility purposes, which is nice. Yeah, so essentially he got the Mort treatment, right? Mort was also really inconsistent with his anti-crit buff. Now he's one of the most reliable anti-crit buffers for the entire team, and he has almost 100% uptime as well, which is crazy. So yeah, that's Bihu, and we're looking forward to using him. Next up, we got Elagos. So this man over here is just getting a slight damage tweak to his skill, the Cleaner, and his Cloak and Dagger. Now, this is the main one. His Cloak and Dagger was the S3, right? Because he gets to Defense Break and Target, I believe. Yeah, target and decrease defense for 2 turns, and then decrease combat readiness of that unit by 50%. So he gets an increased hit chance buff for 2 turns. I'm assuming, yeah, this is a buff here, because you see the effect right here, increase hit chance by 50%. This is really huge, not just for Elagos, but the fact that they made this a buff means that units in the future might be able to buff hit chance, and that is going to be crazy if that actually happens. I really hope not. Right, not too soon, because if you can buff hit chance, one, it's going to make all evasion units kind of irrelevant, which is a little bit funny, actually, especially because this thing stacks with something like Symbol of Unity. You can get 70% hit chance, but this is really bad because it essentially makes RGB units into ML units, right? If you're a fire unit, you get a 50% hit chance, you won't be able to miss ice units, and that can be a little bit of a balancing nightmare, right? So kind of hoping that it kind of just sticks to a select few units, and I hope that they don't push it too far. But yeah, Elagos definitely struggles against ice units, but now you can reliably open into anybody, and honestly, when is target and defense break not good in PvP, right? So looking forward to it. Hopefully people use him. I don't think I can build him. I've tried in the past, and I still want to because he looks so cool. I just can't muster the gear. All right, moving on to the 4 stars here, we got BunnyDom. So BunnyDom actually got some pretty cool changes. Her S1, actually, she now has a 75% chance to put the target to sleep, up from 60%, which is pretty good, especially because she, again, doesn't, like Bihu, doesn't really have a skill to use once she uses her S3. She only has an S3 and a passive in her S1, right? So it's really nice to see that she has more consistency in just controlling a unit, can potentially lock somebody down, right? Kind of like a Sage Ball S1, which is pretty good. And then we got her passive. Now, this is great. She gets additional effect resistance. It's honestly the worst stat in the game because effectiveness trumps effect resistance in like every situation. You can have like a 250 effect res unit, and that's never enough. You're going to get debuffed by pretty much everything, right? Especially with units like ML Rowan out there. What are you going to do against her? Resist, right? Ceceria's, Pirate Captain Flans, a lot of them built with 200, 250 effectiveness. And so that basically makes up to 350 resistance useless. So it's nice to see Smilegate kind of upping the effect resist game here for some units. Although they could just balance the effectiveness and resistance system. But hey, that's going on a tangent here. That's for another day. What she loses on her passive, though, is a barrier to all allies for 2 turns, and the barrier that increases with the strength of her max health. But instead, what she does is, at the start of the extra turn, you dispel all debuffs from all allies, and you get skill null for everyone, and you get immunity, right? Which is insane. Which is absolutely insane. Actually, hang on 1 second here. This skill nullifier actually might just be for herself. It's not entirely clear. I think it's just for herself. But yeah, that is absolutely insane. So, oh wait, no, hang on. Providing more. Okay, no, I think. Okay, the wording is making me kind of worry here. I think this grants skill nullifiers to everybody. It should. It should. If it grants skill nullifiers to everybody, it's absolutely insane. If it's only to herself, it's still okay. It's still good. But yeah, if this dispels all debuffs, that's the main thing. BunnyDom didn't have a cleanse. Everyone was relying on Doctor's Bag, and Doctor's Bag is not that great because it's not super versatile, right? See, Lilius can use her S3, sure, then, you know, you can Doctor's Bag push up, you know, get your shenanigans going when you use a non-attack so you can cleanse. But, yeah, that means your BunnyDom had to be fast, that means your BunnyDom had to be able to cut. Now you can run things like Eternus, Soul Constellation, which increases your effect res even more, by the way. And you can cut after the opener, that's putting debuffs on your team, so when they take an extra turn, you can dispel everything, get skill nulls for everyone, and you get immunity. That's absolutely insane. Yeah, that's really, really nice. Now you're thinking, well, what about the barrier? The barrier actually got moved down here. She loses the skill null to the caster. See, this is why I think it's for everybody, because it says dispels from all allies and grants skill nullifier. It doesn't say skill nullifier to the caster. So that's why I think it's for everyone. Down here, though, she gets a barrier to everybody still, right? That's just on her S3 now. So she'll increase attack and give barrier to all allies, which is not bad, actually. This actually makes her less susceptible to barrier inversion units, namely DJB, because you can control when you get the barrier now instead of just just happening. Right? Before, to counter some BunnyDoms, when you draft an RTA, people go see Lilius, you go BunnyDom, they'll go DJB. So you go see Lilius, and then BunnyDom goes, right? Or sorry, see Lilius goes, right? BunnyDom gets a barrier, and then your DJB goes after, because you can build your DJB pretty fast, and you can invert all the barriers on everybody, push up your entire team, and then boom, your BunnyDom just essentially killed everybody. It's a small interaction, right? Hardly ever comes up, but it is still important to note that now you can control your barriers, which is nice. Okay, moving forward, ML Rin, right? So hopefully this is a bit more clear than the previous one. I was struggling with that text there. ML Rin here gets basically an entire rework. So she no longer has this random buff to the caster thing for S1 and buffing all allies with a random buff for 2 turns, right? None of those shenanigans. She actually doesn't grant immunity to everyone anymore. She doesn't take an extra turn when buffs have been dispelled. She loses the stunning thing on her S2. Not completely, but we'll talk about it. The first thing is that her S1 now gets a stun. A 40% chance, which is a pretty big chance, right? That's like made Chloe levels of stun on her S1. Which is really good because she's fast, she can turn cycle, and she still provides utility after her initial round of skills. So her Soul Burn gets that up to 100% chance, which is pretty nice. You can lock down a DPS unit essentially. Right? Especially coupled with the fact that she still stuns on her S2, but this is one of the main things about her that I've been talking about for quite a while now. If you guys have been following the channel, you know that I hate skills that inflict a debuff before dispelling. So now she steals 2 buffs. First, grants the effect to the allies, then stuns the target for 1 turn, which means if the opponent has immunity, you can steal the immunity and stun them instead of them being immune to stun and then you take the immunity, right? So this is huge, huge change. Now, instead of giving immunity to the team, speaking of which, right, with her S3, she actually gives everyone crit damage buff, which is nice. There's only a few units in the game that can actually provide a crit damage buff, right? Sharun can do it, Ilanov can do it, and Earthridden can do it. Crit damage buff is such a strong buff. It increases damage of pretty much everybody, right? Unlike increased attack buffs, crit damage buffs help bruisers as well. So if you have a HP scaling unit, they're going to benefit from this critical hit damage buff, right? So that's really good. So she opens the door for a lot of shenanigans to happen. Also, units that self-attack buff, right, will get a huge boost from this. Now, the other thing is when she's awakened, not only does she increase critical hit damage of all allies for 2 turns, if she crits, she grants an extra turn to herself, so it's no longer conditional of buffs being dispelled, because ML Rin, if you guys knew her back before this, right, so I guess technically if you use her at any point since her release till now, you know she's an RNG nightmare, absolutely abysmal to use. Use an S3, try and dispel the immunity, Nope. Get 15% in? Well, you don't get the extra turn. If you dispelled everything with the S3 and then you went for an S2, well, 15%. Oh, sorry. You couldn't do anything there. Yeah, she was an absolute nightmare to use. With so many 15% checks, it was insane. But yeah, so moving on here, though, this is going to be pretty good. She is going to be built with critical hit chance, right, to get yourself the extra turn, which means she can actually be a pretty good Commander Pavel opener, especially with that crit damage buff. It's going to help him out a lot. He gives himself an attack buff, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah. More toys for aggro players, cleave players to use, and she has a really high base speed. So it's nice that she is actually reworked to a point where I'd say I'm kind of interested in building her and testing her out. Wouldn't be bad. Wouldn't be bad. Okay, next up we got Inferno Kawazu. That's right, the big man is here, and he has been in this new meta ever since ML Landy got released as a way to deal with her. And he's getting a little boost, not a huge one, but 25% combat readiness instead of 20%, so not too bad. I think he has an EE as well that you could boost the combat readiness even more. I haven't really found this combat readiness to be the problem. It's just that to survive ML Landys, you need a bunch of bulk. And if you build bulk, you're not building attack. So I think what they did was they increased the detonation damage of his S3. So hopefully it will now be enough to kill. They say here, it says the damage dealt by his skill, Flames of Destruction, when detonating burns, will be increased, making him more effective at suppressing ML Landy when successfully detonating burns. Right? But yeah, he's really good in this meta. There's so many units that just AoE. Last Rider Crow, Sharoon, just name a couple off the top of my head, that he's very, very versatile. You'll definitely find places to splash him in, and, you know, into units like, even like Lionheart Sermi, you can just one-shot her, delete her, right? It's insane. This unit's insane, and I'm kind of glad that they even gave him a little bit of a buff. It's good. All right, next up we got Pilus over here. So last one of the balance patch. So she actually recovers 5% of her health at the start of every turn instead of 3, which is pretty good, not bad. I use her only in Guild Wars, but this is pretty significant for a little bit of sustain. 2% over the course of a match where you're taking multiple turns adds up, right? And it can be the difference between a win or a loss. Now, I actually didn't know this before, I'll be honest. Pilus's skill tree, the rune, as they call it, the Unity rune. In the skill tree, it says, when an ally except for the caster is attacked by a counterattack, dual attack, or extra attack, she decreases damage suffered by 30%. Now, this is the main reason you use her with Rowana. You mitigate a bunch of damage for your team. I didn't know this did not include her. I guess it's just because, you know, most pilots are built pretty tanky, you don't really feel the effects, but now it is when an ally is attacked, including herself. So yeah, that's going to help her survivability a lot. I've been wondering why Pilus has been dying a lot in Guild Wars. It turns out it's not a skill issue, it's a reading issue. This is why I'm a math teacher. Alright, but yeah, these are all of the balance adjustments, and honestly, every single one of these is an absolute banger. I cannot wait to see all these units being implemented. I can't wait to start losing to ML Chaerons every match. Can't wait to see ML Ken actually be drafted in RTA, unironically. But yeah, with that being said, guys, let me know what you guys think about this balance patch in the comments section down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe for more Epic 7 content. And until next time, take care.